Hello, Yakra here with another Warframe video. This time I want to talk about the Saryn Rework, which just came out. Now, the Saryn Rework is pretty awesome. Like, that's, spoiler alert, my overall opinion. This is fan-flipping-tastic. Probably the best rework to happen to date in terms of how much more fun and good it has made the frame. So, spores are the ability that was primarily changed by this rework. And now the big difference with their spores is they do not have a duration, and they only have a base damage, right? Which is 10 damage per second. And that damage will increase over time infinitely, and the duration is infinite, provided all the enemies with spores on them don't die, right? So if all the enemies that have spores on them are dead, there are no more spores on the battlefield, you have to recast it and get them back out there. As part of that, you can no longer cast spores on molt, which is really no big deal. Now this change has made spores incredibly effective. They've also been changed to corrosive damage type, which with the changes to miasma, which we'll get to, is a pretty significant overall buff. It does mean that it's kind of pointless to bring corrosive projection ever as Saryn, which is actually really nice because you can instead take growing power, which is super duper good, basically. Okay, so molt was also changed. Now, molt has a invulnerability period like Rhino Iron Skin, during which it absorbs damage, and that damage will be added to its health pool, and so that way it will survive for longer during high-level missions. That's pretty good change. There's not much else to say about it. Yeah, it's still a little bit even with that change, it's a little bit weak. Like, it dies pretty quickly later on, but it's much better. I mean, it's just a straight buff, so can't complain, right? Toxic Lash now adds toxic damage to all of your weapons, not just your melee weapon, but it is twice as effective on your melee weapons. And it adds toxin procs to all of your attacks. This means that as Saryn, right, it's much more viable to realistically get, I guess you couldn't before, right? Yeah, to realistically get 3 different procs on enemies, corrosive, viral, and toxic at all times. And in general, it's just a huge buff to Saryn because you can use, a variety of primary and secondary weapons to much greater effect than you could get with just melee, especially in higher level missions, right? Where you need to be hiding behind a frost globe or something because your tankiness just isn't cutting it anymore. Miasma, I would say it's not exactly buffed. They scrapped one of the changes, which is it was going to have its base damage increased to 500, I believe. And that would have made it really good, but it doesn't matter that they nerfed that, since they left the spores in changes that they suggested intact, because miasma now procs viral damage. So, and it doesn't pop your spores. So it's very, very good to just cast miasma, get it out over the whole battlefield. Or at least almost, it covers a better spread radius than your spores. So you're going to fairly easily, with really high range, be able to cover a large area with miasma and viral proc all the enemies in that area, and that means that those enemies are going to be taking double damage from your spores. And of course, miasma deals double damage versus enemies that have what's the word I'm looking for? Spores on them. And viral damage is also very good versus enemy types that don't have armor for the most part. And since you're stripping all of their armor with corrosive, this means that the viral damage probably has a slight bonus of like 25-50%. Once the armor's gone. So it's a very good synergy between these two abilities and between these abilities and your allies and your weapons. So I'm a huge fan of how they've changed this. Okay, so let's actually, I guess I should probably look at the modded stats. So what I've done primarily here is that I've modded for huge amounts of range and some power strength and not really much duration. You need some duration to keep miasma from just not existing at all, basically, and to be able to use Toxic Lash effectively. For molt, it doesn't matter too much, but every ability besides spores does benefit from having some duration. Unfortunately, there is a limit to how much stuff you can pack onto a Warframe. This is the mod setup I'm using currently, and it probably needs some kind of modification in terms of forma, because you really want vitality if you're doing like solo Sanctuary Onslaught, right? I'd probably replace either Intensify or Augur Reach with Vitality instead, in an ideal world, but I haven't had time to remod it, and I can't really fit it on too well. So this is pretty good for demonstration purposes. This is a build I would use if I had... Actually, I'd probably replace Hunter Adrenaline for more power strength, and ditch Regenerative Molt. If I was playing in a squad, you'd rely on Trinity to keep you healed up and full of energy instead, and you would just throw in like Blind Rage and some duration mods. Alright, so let's take a look at how effective she is versus level 100 enemies. Alrighty. No, I didn't get energy. You don't really need energy actually for this. So we're just going to look at the spores first, right? So I slapped some spores on this guy. Pretty mediocre, right? Okay, but let's spread them and spread them again. And just ensure we got full coverage over here. And yeah, so already you can see that the damage is ticking really high, and you can see the in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, you can see the sort of counter for her damage, and these guys are all dead. These are all 100 bombards. Dead. There we go. Got up to 1,000 damage per tick before they all died. So, pretty freaking good. Obviously. Let's bump up the enemy level so they survive a little bit longer, shall we? It takes a while to build up, right? I mean, keep in mind that, of course, I could bust out my Lanka build and just instantly kill whole swaths of them in a single shot. There are other warframes that can let you do that with a variety of weapons, like Chroma, for example. So it's not totally busted as much as it looks like it. The really nice thing here is the coverage, the armor, and the armor stripping. These guys, because specifically these type of enemies, Grineer enemies with heavy armor, are really annoying for a lot of people to deal with without playing in a squad and running corrosive projection. So the nice thing here is that you can, get rid of their armor on your own, and so dealing with these enemies is not too much of a problem for solo Saryn. And in a squad, I don't know if this is like a full-on replacement for corrosive projection, really, if it's quite that good, but yeah, you very well might be able to replace it with this, because they die so fast. It's so good. Yeah. It's crazy. Even higher level enemies just doesn't make a really big difference, because if you remove armor scaling, enemy HP doesn't scale that harshly. So yeah, it's super good. Super good. You're gonna see like less of a drastic difference between her spores and like other damage types on non-armored enemies, because of course the spores are starting out with their damage like massively reduced by armor, and then they strip off the armor themselves, and then the damage ramps up very quickly, right? Okay, so let's try Miasma. So Miasma, of course, is going to be really effective on these guys. I don't know if it's going to give us these instant results where they die, but now they're taking double damage from the spores, right? In addition to the Miasma damage, and I think the viral proc's probably going to wear off soon, so I can do it again. And they're still taking double damage from the spores. So they're going to die a little bit quicker. It's not too blatantly obvious at this level because the Miasma itself doesn't do very significant damage to such high-level enemies. Lower levels, it's a little bit better, where the Miasma also like takes out half their health, and the spores are dealing double damage, so they just die pretty much immediately once you've dropped Miasma on them. But it's viral procs. Viral procs means double damage, and it's a huge area that you can cover with viral procs. So it's pretty nice. There's not really much to showcase for like Molt and Toxic Clash, but I'll see what I can do. Let's turn the enemy's AI back on, and it'll just make me invulnerable because I can't survive versus such high-level enemies. Okay. So my weapons aren't really effective versus enemies at this level. I should be able to get a little bit of mileage out of these abilities. So first off, let's try Molt, right? So normally it would already be dead, and instead look at it racking up all that extra health. Its base health is 500, and it got up to what, 13,000? Yeah. So yeah, it's a lot more effective. It lasts about double the duration it would. No, it's not even double the duration. It would last like a second before, and now it's lasting like, what is that, like 3 seconds for it to charge up, and then like 3 more seconds for them to tick it down, basically. So it's massively better. And now let's like activate Toxic Lash, whip out my melee weapon, and viral proc all these guys. Let's spread some spores too. So maybe we're going to see a little bit more spore effect. Oh no, they're going to die pretty much immediately. So you can see the huge difference here, because I'm getting these I've got Condition Overload on, right? And you can get viral procs, corrosive procs, and toxic procs. on all of these enemies very quickly, in addition to all the IPS procs that my weapon's getting. And yeah, it's pretty great. You get a huge damage multiplier very quickly, and deal massive damage to these guys. Spore popping is also pretty good. So something else, I'm going to tone the enemy level down for this a little bit. Let's go back to level 100 enemies. Level 100 enemies is basically, it's like around the point where your abilities besides Spore start to fall off, right? Because up to that point, my asthma is still pretty effective. What did I want to do? Oh yeah, show off spores. Let's do some like melee spread. Yeah, there we go. Spores are spread all around the map. Okay, so spores have the ability to be popped by pressing the spore ability button again to deal double their damage and burst damage. Let's wait a little while here for these guys to run out of armor. Yeah, I don't have enough power strength. It's not taking them down to... Oh, they just all died first. Well, let's pop it. It wasn't that effective. All right, let's try this. Let's give this another shot. It should be a little bit better. I should be able to do it a little bit earlier. I was waiting for them to run out of armor entirely, but since I don't have high power strength, the status chance is only 50%, so they weren't actually, you know, running out of armor. There we go. There we go. There we go. All right, so we'll just wait until they get... We'll get this up to like 1,000, a little bit past 1,000 damage. It's not going to be too effective if we pop it early, but let's say I want to really burst these guys, right? Boom. Right? Detonates, big explosion. I think there's actually a little explosion radius on that, so you deal, like, you know, damage in an area of effect. Could be wrong on that, though. It's hard to tell since they're all affected by the spores, of course. But yeah, I think that's like pretty much my impression of the rework. I think the rework's fantastic. This is like so much fun. I kind of wish I'd recorded or live streamed myself initially testing this out, because I was laughing my ass off just with how awesome it is to just like slaughter enemies with your spores. I think it's going to be really a lot more new player friendly without the weird buggy interaction with toxic procs that it had before. That was cool and it added some depth to her gameplay, but it didn't work very well and it was really inconsistent. So I think this is for the best. Let me show off the mod screen one more time and close it out. So, thank you all for watching. If you like this content and you want to see more like it, please like, comment, subscribe. Let me know what kind of stuff you'd like to see in the future, or if you have any questions about the video and Saryn's rework that you'd like me to answer. And that's all for now. Yakri out.